Hello, friends, and welcome back to Last Pick. Ages since the last one, but I'm back with the feedback taken into account. We'll try to get it exactly to what people want. We're going to talk about the drafts, how you can win, what types of heroes to look for. With me today, I've got Otomo, who is like 8K, I think, right? Better than me, analyst. We do some castings, not technically together. That's like the funny thing about casting. We work similar events, but there's no interaction. But I got you here today because I know you're a really smart guy and you'll be able to give us some good information on what's going on with these drafts.
Yes, very, very smart.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
I like when you talk about working together because it's like that the people you like, you never work with because you do the same role. So
Yeah.
you're like, oh well. But yeah, I'm glad to be here, and I like this very interesting idea. So yeah, we'll get to it and see how it works out.
Okay, so we have the bands here. I didn't include them last time because it's kind of random, and as a support, I have like 20 seconds. I just like lock in like I'm playing Clockwork. But I guess the cores do have time to think about the band. So for
Mhm.
everyone watching as well, I have them there, and Otomo, you can start thinking about them if you want. The first phase came in like this, and I'll tell you the Radiant team because you usually know at least one draft. You're on the team for one of them. So this is a Shadow Shaman 5 and a Keeper of the Light 4.
Mhm.
So right now from that support duo, because I was one of these heroes, spoilers. But I
Okay.
feel you got some lockdown on the Shadow Shaman, but it also sucks.
Mhm.
Rubik and Ringmaster are actually both really good versus Shadow Shaman because they can both cancel the shackles, and Rubik has like amazing steals for every spell. So Shadow Shaman's game is kind of rough until someone deals with the Rubik. So from me playing Shadow Shaman, I'm really hoping one of my cores picks something that can take out Rubik for me so that I can then go in with all my spells. And Keeper has the Chakra Magic, low cooldown, provides tons of mana. So there's a lot of cool combos with that. It's cool with me as Shadow Shaman, but for cores, I guess we'll talk about that in a second. From the Dire side, Otomo, what are you thinking?
Mhm.
You see the Rubik and the Ringmaster. I'm not going to tell you what positions they end up in, so give me all the full predictions, the thought process as you're going into this game.
I mean, they're probably going to be the 4 or 5 as well, right? Because it's Rubik Ringmaster. It almost feels like it's irrelevant which one's the 4 and which one's the 5. They're both going to be able to do the same thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like they're going to be able to get the same amount. I will say that I think the scaling on Radiant is slightly better as the game goes on. I feel like Call when you get the Agam Scepter, that's really good. Shadow Shaman, if you have the Refresher Orb or something, you just throw uh, snakes on buildings, that's good. For Dire, the spells. I like what you said about Shadow Shaman having a hard time to land his spells, but you have to get the correct spells to steal on Rubik. Ringmaster, all his spells can miss. I've seen the dagger miss a ton of times, the whip as well, people can move out. I would say I favor the Radiant slightly as an opening.
Okay, is that attached to like the current meta, or speaking of a pub game, if you just saw this in
Mm.
like Crusader where the meta doesn't matter as much, do you still think you favor Radiant?
Oh, I favor Radiant more if we're going low rank, because you can't mess up Hex and Shackle, but you can mess up Wheel of Wonder and the Whip. And like if you're a Shadow Shaman and Crusader, that's the best thing. You just go to towers, drop snakes, no one's gonna do anything. Well, I mean they will, but still, no. If we go lower, I actually like the Radiant more and more as we get there.
Yeah, so then with the next phase, we got the core picks assumedly coming in.
Yes.
What would you be hoping to see? We can start with the Radiant, like some
Mm.
combos potentially, or like types of heroes when you have the Shadow Shaman and Keeper opening.
I mean, if I was Radiant, I would say Medusa is number one, just because we have Coddle. Like, it's such an obvious combo. It's really good. So I would love to see a Medusa coming out. And then what you're talking about, Catch would be good. Puck is not there. I don't know if you're going to see a mid or a carry. Those two always are like, it's who's more stubborn is usually the one who gets it. But if it was a mid, I would like a Spirit, possibly a Quap, although Quap feels like there's a little too much lockdown. The Spirits would be better if you can get them. And for the Dire side, I want to say Lifesteal, but then Lifesteal is banned out. Juggernaut's not really a pick, but he is
What's
actually kind
the
of good in this one.
what's the idea behind those two that you're interested in?
The Juggernaut, because I want something that's magic immune, so that he can deal with the Will-O-Wisp. He can get on top of the Shadow Shaman. If not Juggernaut, I prefer a like a Wraith King. Wraith King would be really good. And oh, he also probably pick an offlaner here. Tide Hunter, Juggernaut for the Dire. For the Radiant, it should be Medusa plus some sort of catch. Whether it's carry or mid, I don't know though.
What made you think about the Tide Hunter?
You just can remove all the spells from the Radiant, right? Shackles, Hex, even the what's it called? The Solar Flare doesn't bother him so much.
That's true,
You can
yeah.
build a pipe. So I think there's a lot of value for the Tidehunter.
Okay, I like that idea.
Okay.
So, how do you feel about what we actually end up getting? Oh, I will say the Pudge got double
Oh,
picked. I don't know if he was in any of the considerations, but after that, we ended up with the Medusa Juggernaut. You did call the
mm,
Medusa, which
okay.
that was the offlane Medusa and the carry Juggernaut, and then the enemy picked
Okay.
Ember and Mars. So, thoughts? What do you feel when you see this?
I don't know why the Juggernaut is on the Radiant side as much. I would have preferred it more on the Dire, but the Medusa's perfect pick. Medusa's like 10 out of 10. This is the best pick you could have picked for off lane. Ember is good catch. He's not super good against Shadow Shaman. Like because you can proc the foul play. So if let's say you're seeing change, you're about to burn out, the foul play procs, you can glimmer and run away, for example. So he's not like super good against Shadow Shaman. You sometimes have to commit an extra remnant to get the kill, which is like, eh. He doesn't do very well against the Will O Wisp either. His attack speed is kind of slow. So I don't love him, but he's also good for the catch. Uh the Mars is weird. I'm not, I don't get the Mars that much.
With everything you've seen now, last picks, what are you expecting? We can start with the Radiant.
Okay.
Offlane Medusa, carry Juggernaut. These are the
Hmm.
supports, right? So we need a mid hero. What would you hope to see? Like, what fits the gaps?
Two heroes particularly I feel like would be really good. One's Huskar. When you have a Medusa on your team, Huskar's really good because he's the exact opposite of Medusa. So whatever counters Medusa does nothing to Huskar. A good example would be like Spirit Vessel. Good against Huskar, nothing against Medusa. Or Diffusal Blade. Good against Medusa, useless against Huskar. So you force the enemies to split their item build where they're like, oh shit, I can counter one but not the other. If it's not Huskar, the second best pick might be something like a Monkey King because he's good against Ember in the lane. But I feel like that's a very finicky matchup, which can go one way or another. So Radiant, Huskar, number one by far. Number
Oh,
two would be
interesting. I wouldn't have thought of
Monk.
the Huskar that highly because to me, I would actually think like, oh, it doesn't really combo with the Keeper, and I feel like Keeper does like Medusa, but also likes a really active mid to work with, and then the lack of catch. Like Shadow Shaman's good, but then like there's nothing really else yet. But
True.
that's actually exactly why I like the series. Like I'm like I don't like Huskar, but you're like yes, give me the Huskar. Let's talk about Dire. So Dire, based on all this, probably a carry, right? Do you agree?
Yeah. Yes, right. I mean, you have Ember mid, Mars offlane, so you need a carry. Unless you're like trying to trick me up,
No.
like, haha. Okay.
Pub Dota, you never know. What carry?
One.
Originally, you mentioned Lifestealer and Juggernaut. Now one's
Hmm.
banned, one's taken. Would you still want them if you saw them like at this point?
Life Stealer, no, not this point, because now I know he's not going to do much against Medusa, and he's kind of okay-ish against Juggernaut, but I think there are better options. The best option, in my opinion, for Dire as a carry would probably be the Slark for several reasons. Firstly, he's a natural diffusal blade builder, which is good against Medusa. Secondly, you can always ulti to get rid of the Juggernaut Omnislash, and you can get the shard to help anyone else who's caught in it and also remove shackles if you're because I believe the shackle gets cancelled if you are in the smoke screen. I'm not quite sure,
I
but
think you're right, but I gotta double check that.
I, I know that duel gets cancelled, like
Yeah,
automatically gets cancelled, which is so I imagine shackle is the same thing,
I
but I'm
think
not sure.
so. He's not meta, so it's
Uh,
like you don't see that interaction too often right now.
sure.
But I'll
Not as a
double check.
carry.
I'll right now the people know. I'll have like a edited clip of whether that works or not right now.
So yeah, I can like if you're hexed, he's good attack speed against the Will-O-Wisp. I feel like he also gives you one thing that you like, which is sustained damage, right? Like you have could have been a burst from Mars and Ember. The supports are not really they're okay damage, but you need someone who's like tick 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 tick, and that's gonna be the Slark. So maybe Gyro's okay, but no, Slark for Dire, and for the Radiant, we were saying we need a mid.
You were all in on the Huskar
Huskar.
train.
Huskar.
Yeah.
Huskar. Yes, yes,
All right, you ready?
yes. Oh, all right. At least I got the Huskar. I
You
like the
called you
Huskar.
called the Huskar. I would not have guessed the Huskar myself. So props to you. Um, with that,
But
I'll just leave it open to
mhm,
you first before I influence your thoughts. How are you feeling about both drafts right now?
I think the Radiant has the better draft. I don't like the anti-mage as much. Well, you might. It's not like I didn't forgot him. I know it's like you see Medusa, you have to think anti-mage, but my mind was already that Huskar is going to be picked, and an anti-mage is bad against him. And another thing is that anti-mage, the counter spell is good against Juggernaut, but it's kind of selfish. Firstly, you're not joining fights very early, so and secondly, you're not going to help anyone else. It's like, oh, I can counter spell myself. You're all screwed though, like every single one of you. So I prefer the Slark a bit more.
Whether one draft is better or not, I mean, you still got to go play the game. And in Pub Dota, people can always mess
Bro.
up. So now we can imagine it. Like, let's start with Shadow Shaman plus Juggernaut versus what ended up being a Rubik position 4 and then the Mars. So Rubik 4, Mars off lane. How do you feel about that lane? Who do you think's
It's
looking better there?
I would slightly favor the Radiant, but I wouldn't be surprised either way how it goes. I like that. I mean, Shadow Shaman Juggernaut is like as classic as Crystal Maiden and Sven and things like that. It's a very classic combos. You have great, you shackle for a long time. You have Hex. But they've got 2 stunners on the enemy side. They've got damage reduction. The Mars, what's called God's Rebuke can push people away. So I do feel like it can go either way, but I'm favoring Radiant slightly. It's like 60-40 in that one.
Okay. The other lane then is the Keeper plus Medusa that you called for the off lane, and then the Ringmaster 5 and Anti-Mage. I think a lot of people would be like, Anti-Mage versus Medusa should be easy. Is that also what you would think?
No, I think the column Medusa crushes the lane. Ringmaster's daggers are useless against. Firstly, it's very hard to hit Coddle. He's usually very far away, and he's the fastest hero, despite being the oldest. And Medusa doesn't care. You have to, if you're anti-mage, you have to jump on her. She's got Gorgon's Grasp now. She's got the snakes giving her mana. Like, you're not burning her that fast. We see like triple Mango's Lotus. No, I would favor the Radiant heavily in that one. In the laning phase. There.
Because later you think, okay, Anti-Mage will be fine after that.
Yes, but laning phase it should go and it's 2 range versus anti-mage. It's as much as he is a counter to Medusa in the lane, it's not gonna feel too good being peppered by light and arrows all the time.
If you change the support, like let's say the Ringmaster, would that then feel better? Like, okay, then Anti-Mage versus Medusa can be good if you had a different support?
Yes. If you had someone with a little bit more lockdown, for sure, right? Because you melt her in a few seconds. You just don't get that much lockdown from Ringmaster. Like if you had a Clockwork who can keep her in the cogs, that would be really good.
So then what do you do in that situation, right? You can't just like lose. So let's say from Ringmaster's perspective, and maybe Anti-Mage as well, what should you be trying to get out of that lane then if you maybe aren't winning right away?
I mean, it's a little bit hard for the Ringmaster to do much. You can always do the pull stacking, right? But like the one where you pull the enemy creeps, you're in the safe lane. It's actually very hard for you to do that, where you go to the enemy side and get creeps to come to your safe lane. Like that's usually something that the 4 can do, but not something that the 5 can do. So that's kind of hard for the Ringmaster. One thing you could say is at least the Anti-Mage, if he doesn't get shackled by the Gorgon's Grasp, he shouldn't die. So that's a nice thing. Ringmaster considering rotating. We talked about how Huskar will smash Ember. Hey, what if Ringmaster's there? Whipping him a little bit. So I feel like if you are playing the Ringmaster, the best thing you can do is try to help your anti-mage as much as you can, but focus on the other lanes. Because if you can go top, for example, kill the Shadow Shaman, that would be great, and the Juggernaut, because now you have a lot of lockdown. Anti-Mage will struggle, but he will survive, which is sometimes the best case scenario for this hero. He deserves it. He picked Anti-Mage. Like, you don't deserve a good
into
laning
Medusa
phase.
though, right? Like, surely that's the best time to pick an Anti-Mage and not like the usual Anti-Mage picks in pub games.
Fine, we'll give him that one. But he also picked against Huskar, so like,
that's the blind pick. You don't know.
We can't blame him too much. Yeah, he didn't see it. He doesn't know what's there. But if you're Ringmaster, honestly, sometimes the best thing you can be like is I might have 20% impact in this place, but I can go somewhere else and have 80% impact. Isn't that better for me? And it's like the Anti-Mage is going to get maybe 5 CS less if you're not there. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I will say, on a theoretical level, makes sense. But of course, pub Dota is often a lot messier, and so you guys can see how it goes. Because if Anti-Mage does pull ahead and Medusa steps too far, and Keeper, he went to go double stack, and you guys manage to get a kill on Medusa, it can quickly change the way it's that Otomo has laid out here. And at that point, maybe you can just keep playing the lane. It's like, yeah, just keep killing. She keeps stepping up too far. Just keep killing the Medusa. Easiest matchup of my life, right? But then if she is far back and you keep blasting with Coddle, like then yes, maybe it is too difficult and you got to start looking to rotate around. So for Ringmaster, one thing you could look to do is try to get a ward, because one of the things that'll be annoying are the blasts from Coddle, which he tries to do from out of vision. So if you can get a ward somewhere so you can at least see that coming and like sidestep those, that could help you. Try not to stand too close to Anti-Mage so you don't get both hit by the Mystic Snake, things like that, and just get through it. And if they mess up, great. If they don't mess up and the lane does end up difficult, then think about what Otomo said. Like, where else could you potentially go? In this case, there's that Huskar versus Ember mid lane. And maybe you can't make a difference there and you don't think you can kill Huskar, then do the stacks, because both Ember and Anti-Mage, even the Mars, like everyone would love to do stacks to catch up. It could be one of the ways Ember gets back into the game, or Anti-Mage, not the best lane. Eventually we'll get the Battle Fury, and then, he'll do the stacks and he'll catch back up online. So that's something, whether you're playing Ringmaster or like whatever other support, that is something you can look to do in a bad lane, whether you agree or not. Like Medusa, Anti-Mage, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yes.
If you ever think your lane is bad versus a good lane, then you can look to do this kind of thing. Why is Huskar versus Ember Spirit so good for the Huskar?
Well, a lot of it is because firstly you have decent amount of magic resistance, and so Flame Guard is kind of bad, like bad for the Ember. He's not going to get much benefit out of it, and he doesn't want to be close, because if he's close burning you with Flame Guard, you're burning him with Burning Spears, which is a lot more damage comparative. You're doing like full damage with the Burning Spears. He's doing much reduced damage with the Flame Guard, and he has to walk up to you. Like, I think the Flame Guard area is actually kind of big, so it might be like on the edge, but you will usually spear him a couple of more times, walking in and walking out. So that's going to be a problem. So it's going to be very hard for him to last hit, because what Huskars will do is that they're not going to stand behind the range creep. They're going to be standing next to your melee creep. And so the Ember Spirit, he's going to be like, oh, I want to last hit the melee. I can't, because the spears are going to be coming at me.
And you draw no aggro with Huskar because of if you manually cast Burning Spears, for those of you that don't know, if you attack in the creeps, usually you take a bunch of creep damage. It's not worth it. But for heroes who can manually cast it like Huskar, you can just stand in the creeps and you don't care. As long as you're pressing W, you draw no aggro.
You could use Sleight of Fist to last hit, but that's very difficult, one. And two, when you do it, it's very long cooldown at the beginning. So you use it, you maybe get last hit, but now you like completely have to go back, because Huskar can die if you throw the spears. If you're both low health, he hits you much harder, but you don't get any benefit. It's just never good. And doesn't get better. Yes, you get more mobile as the Ember, but Huskar gets Agam Scepter, which is something he can lock you down with, and he has a natural silence, which is another problem. Sometimes you think, oh, okay, I can go last hit. I can just hit him with a sword. You go in, he silences you. It could be level 2 or something higher than you expect. You still end up dying. So Huskar he destroys Ember. It's not 10-1 chance. It's 100% to 0. There's never a chance where Ember can win it.
Yeah, he really shouldn't. But for the Ember players out there, or the other people who get shut down by Huskar, there's kind of like, I'd say 2 main approaches, maybe 3, but one's out of your control. So one, you'll see a lot of creep dragging, where it's like, okay, I can't play the lane.
Yep.
Don't play the lane. Like sneak your way around, grab the creeps from behind his tower, and just drag them all around the map. And sometimes it gets messy, sometimes you lose creeps. But if you get like 2 creeps out of 4, that's way better than 0 out of 4 of Huskar just denying everything in front of you. So it's usually worth your time. You usually see like boots picked up very early, if not just starting with the boots, and then like you play the first couple levels, like I'd say up to like level 2, level 3 is kind of doable. You get some XP, and after that, like you said, it's just 100 to 0. You're done. So you just see the creep dragging and the stacking and like jungling to catch up, and then kind of part 2 of that, the second way to recover, is that a rotation. Huskar is supposed to win, but if you get 1 kill, that can change it. So like the supports, you need to try to look for that. Get your lane in a good spot and see, like, can we make it happen? You can't always, but if you can, especially around the 6-minute rune, like you said, Huskar doesn't care, but actually Ember does, and that could be another way you recover. Secure a rune, go rotate, get kills. So it's kind of like twofold. Ember's got to do the best on his own, but then team game, right? Supports, even offlaners cares. Like you see this at Pro Dota. Sometimes they come in to try to kill the Huskar, like as a team. They know how important it is to save their mid laner. So if you see this happen in your games, guys, don't just flame like, oh, Ember's trash, he's why we lost. You're like, you gotta help the guy. It's a terrible matchup for him. And later on, it does get easier. Like at the start, like you mentioned, Sleight of Fist, really long cooldown. You don't have your ultimate. Once you
Mm,
at least get level 6, it's much easier because you can just remnant away from the Huskar. So your game
uh-huh.
gets much easier as the game goes on, and it's just about getting to that point, and then you can go back to being the catch that, like you mentioned, you're starting fights, you're finding people, sleight of fist into the chains, all of that.
And the item build also for Ember is actually right now kind of well suited for him because he goes into the Mage Slayer into SNY, and that gives you magic resistance, which is nice against Huskar, and it gives you status resistance, so the stuff he does lasts shorter. So at least right now, as the game goes on, it gets better for the Ember. I mean, it doesn't never in his favor, but better.
Mm-hmm.
It's at least the item build is like, oh, the stuff I get is naturally good against my counter, so it feels nice.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Spirit Vessel this game versus the Huskar? Do you think it's something Dire should build? And if so, who would be doing it?
I mean, usually it's what the four that builds it, right? So
A
it would
lot of
be the
times.
Rubik. Yeah, it's still pretty good. The enemy doesn't have a dispel, and they do have like the heal on the Juggernaut, but that's a good thing because you can reduce it by so much. Spirit Vessel went from 60% to 70% reduction, so you still want it. It's kind of like we want Diffusal Blade, not in this game in particular, but we want Diffusal Blade when we're playing against Medusa. If there's a Huskar, we still want to deal with Medusa. So you still want the Spirit Vessel. It's useless against one hero, but still good against the other four, particularly the Huskar. So yeah, I definitely want Spirit Vessel. It has to be rushed though. And you have to time it right. That's the worst thing because he can dispel himself. But if you time it right, it's very
That's
strong.
true. Yeah, with the new one, that's really good.
Mm.
Ember will at least have like
Oh,
the Orb of Corrosion, which helps. It's like mini mini Spirit Vessel, and he's one of the better builders for it. So I guess you'll have that later. But yeah, okay, Spirit Vessel still worth it. I know that's a tough question. I get that a lot from people. Like,
mm.
it kind of makes sense for some heroes, not versus others. But I agree. Even though Rubik doesn't love building Spirit Vessel, it's not like his favorite item. I think it's pretty worth it versus the Huskar, so long as you can get it
Mm.
fast enough, like you said. And you do well enough in the lane, make some stacks, farm, whatever. You can actually be a little greedy for it because it's so important. We're saying the sooner you get it, the better. I know Huskar has the dispel now, but he'll also use it maybe dealing with one of these other abilities, like maybe he gets rooted by the chains, and then you can Spirit Vessel after that. Um, so the sooner you get it before he picks up like a BKB or other ways to deal with it, the better. And because of that, I think it's
Yep.
okay to actually be a little greedy at times where, oh, maybe I would have let Ember have this farm, maybe I let Mars have this farm. It's like, hey guys, I'm building the Spirit Vessel for Huskar. Like, sorry, I had to do the stacks. It's just required for the Huskar. It wasn't about me. It was for the Huskar. And I
For
think
the
that's
team,
genuine. It's genuinely for the team, even if your cores are mad about it. I think it's genuinely good to do to get that Spirit Vessel online early before too many dispels. You want to use it on Juggernaut, but then he's already got the Manta, right? So the sooner it comes online, the better.
And also, here's the thing: the Spirit Vessel. I don't like the item very much. I love Urn. I don't like Spirit Vessel. I think it's way too easy to cancel. I miss the days when it was an aura. I think that was perfect. But and a lot of matchups, people are like, "Oh, it's good against Morphling." I'm like, "No, it's not. He'll get Manta long before you get your Spirit Vessel, or at least at the same time."
It's
But
tough.
Huskar doesn't. Yeah, the Huskar doesn't rush BKB. And he's always go for Armlet. Some of them will go for like SNY. Some of them will get Agam Scepter, Blink Dagger. Then they might think the BKB. Like the BKB is definitely going to come after like maybe two of these items.
Mhm.
So there will be a good period of time where you have Spirit Vessel and he has no dispels. If his allies have it, very excusable. You're like, I don't want to. There's too many. But his allies don't have saves here. It's only him. It is worth it. And I don't like Spirit Vessel. I want to be very clear. So I want to be against it, but I'm like, it's too good sometimes. Radiant, I feel like wins all three lanes. Heavily for the Medusa, very slight for the Juggernaut, and again heavily for the Huskar again. So, man, but I mean you're on the Radiant, so already they have a massive advantage.
Yeah, but I hadn't played
Mhm.
Shadow Shaman in quite a while, and I just picked it because someone asked me to.
Well,
So,
it's not my fault. I'm assuming everyone's playing. You assume everyone's playing on the level. You're like, all right, let's assume everyone's playing, 7 out of 10, and that's it.
mhm. So this is why, for the people that rage out in the draft, even if you're right, you should still play it
Mm.
out because you never know how it's gonna go. And I'm gonna tell you, we got smashed this game as the Radiant. We got absolutely wrecked. Yeah, the way it ended up going for us losing is that we did
Mm.
fall behind, and then they just had way more playmakers. Like either
Yep.
supports could start stuff, Ember could start stuff, the
Mm.
Mars could start stuff, and in that process, Anti-Mage got so much space that eventually he gets to that Basher Abyssal, and then he can start stuff too. So they just had so many playmakers to do things. And that's why in a lot of pub games, I prefer
Mm.
that kind of style. And going back to the Huskar, after you explained it, I do agree. I like it. And if a pro team did, I'd be like, okay, let's see what, the plan
Yeah.
is win and keep winning. But that's often very messy in a pub game and frequently doesn't happen. And that's why I really like having at least two sources of catch. Usually Shadow Shaman's
Mm.
great between the Hex and the Shackle, but it's a really hard game this time. I'm not saying that because I was the Shadow Shaman. I genuinely think it's a really hard game for the
No,
Shadow
it is.
Shaman, even if it was a better player on it. And that's why I think like if you change any of the core picks, whether it's the offlane Medusa, maybe the carry picks someone who can like start a little better than a Juggernaut can, or the mid, talking about that last pick. And I think you do have a little bit more responsibility if you're the last pick because you've seen the rest of the draft. I would love to have more catch so that you have, like, even if you're winning
Mm.
all the lanes like you were hoping to, maybe it's just the Monkey King, like you won the lane still, but Monkey King at least has the Boundless Strike. It's like, it's another way to
Yep.
start things. And if you do fall behind, okay, Boundless Strike from Invis, or not Invis, from the trees unseen, and then the Shadow Shaman can like waddle in because he's fed in the laning stage, doesn't have his blink yet, so he can shackle at least. Like, you have a way to do it. Once we fell behind in this game, it was like everyone was looking at me to do stuff, and I was like, I am so far away from the blink dagger. Like, every time I walk up, Ember just leaves, Mars spears me away, Ringmaster fears me, like Ruby just picks me up and throws me away. Like, it ain't happening, guys. So that's why personally I think if you're ever in these situations, the Huskar might work, but you really gotta like really make it work. But it might be safer to be those playmakers, things that have like a fallback plan once you fall behind.
I mean, if you're not going Huskar, for example. All right, here's the thing. When you're talking Monkey King, I'm thinking Monkey Brain here. I see Ember mid. I want Huskar, and I see Medusa on my team. I want a mana guy. I got a life guy here. But if you're not Huskar, another really good one would have been actually Invoker. It's not great against the anti-mage, but you are able to remove the Flame Guard from the laning stage. You have all this control. Arena comes out, you say EMP coming, baby. Like that's also, you have your circle, I have mine. Would have been very solid as well. So I wouldn't have mind Invoker if it's not Huskar, but in a team aspect sort of thing. But when we're going this as a pub mentality into sort of Immortal, everyone knows how to play, but they're thinking mostly for themselves. I'm like, nah, it's Huskar's gonna come out.
In a way, and I guess you
Mm.
already touched on this, but there's a couple heroes in Dota where if you pick it in like phase 1 or phase 2, you almost know a certain response pick is coming out later.
Yep.
I'd say like you see a Dazzle, some guys picking Axe, even though I think Dazzle's actually better in that matchup.
Yes.
I played a lot of Tree Protector, second phase, Timbersaw's coming out. And I think Medusa is actually one of those where Medusa gets picked in this second phase. You could argue kind of bold if you know that Anti-Mage hasn't been banned. Anti-Mage is going to come out. And I think if you're the last
Yep.
pick, this is the hard part about this is the whole inspiration of the series. I think a lot of times people just look at the enemy team and think about I see 4 heroes, here's what I want to play versus them, but they don't look at their
Yep.
own team, which goes back to me talking about like maybe we need more catch if we want to play it safer. But you also have to envision ahead of time, what does the enemy want? And it's like, oh, we have Medusa, this guy probably can't help picking anti-mage carry. Who can I play that is good versus that anti-mage? It might be catch, it
Yep.
might be pushing a really fast tempo before anti-mage even comes online. That's the Huskar idea.
One thing I do like is that how you mentioned early on that you don't like the Huskar, and I love the Huskar, and that's one of the things about Dota is that we see things very differently, and we can all be the same MMR. Like, I mean, what the pro scene, you look at it, there's like 40 or 50 heroes in the meta. It's not the same 20, which is like 10 banned, 10 picked, or 12 banned. Sorry, that's the beauty of this game. Is that we all see it from a different way because based on what we're good at. For me, I'm like, yeah, Huskar is gonna crush it. He's gonna do well and he's gonna control the game. Someone else can be like, oh shit, we lack lockdown against Ember Anti-Mage. That's also a real thing. And both of these points are valid. It comes down to like your vision of the game and also how well you can pull it off.
Okay, I think that is pretty good for everything, guys. Let us know down in the comments any feedback. Tried to adjust it based on the last one, so still figuring this form out. Thank you so much to Otomo for coming with this experimental video. Thank you for pitching in everything you know. If you guys want more from Otomo, he's got a YouTube channel, stream. He actually do a bunch of different stuff, so I'll have links to like everything. But yeah, like you can find him casting. You sometimes write like articles, right? Like what else are you up to, man?
These days, I'm trying to get into more coaching. I really enjoy it, and I'm not gonna say it's free because it's not. But I do go, like, I sit with a person, we watch one of his replays, we do it like very detailed, or they send me a video, and it's been a lot of fun because you get to see like what we discuss here, but throughout the game, where it's like what you feel like you should be doing, how your item build synergizes with that. I've enjoyed it a ton, and I just enjoy the interactions with people. I'm very lonely inside, so this is very fun for me. It's not quite depression level, but it makes me happy to be around people and being able to do it for the thing I love and getting the thing I love, money. It's all very good.
Yeah. So help Otomo help you guys. I'll have a link down to that below. Otomo's better than me, guys. So it's a great place to go get some coaching and much better than me. It'll be a great place to go get some coaching if you guys are interested in. All right, Otomo, thank you for joining. Hope everyone liked this. We'll have another episode out in the future. Let me know that feedback. Otherwise, it'll be the same garbage you don't like. So let me know what you think of it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in another one.